Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum dear students. I am Imtiaz Hussain, SS English in Divisional Public School and College, Sahiwal. Let's start today's lesson.
Dear student, good morning to our today's lesson. Today we are going to read Mr. Chips, chapter 17 and 18, question answers. Yes, our today's first question is, where did Mrs. Wicked go a day before Mr. Chips' death? A day before Mr. Chips' death, she went to see her relatives in neighboring village. Question number 2 is, what arrangements did Mrs. Wicked make for Mr. Chips before she went to visit her relatives? She left the tea things ready on the table with bread and butter. She also left some extra cups in case someone called on him. Question number 3 is, how did Chips respond to Linford's query? Chips did not disappoint the young visitor. Young visitor means Linford. Chips said that he wanted him to have a cup of tea with him. He asked the boy to sit by the fire. Question number 4 is, how did Chips help Linford overcome his fear? Chips told Linford that Brookfield would not be an awful place when he got used to it. Then he told him about his own arrival at Brookfield and his fear when he went to the big hall to take his first class. Dear students, we know that in a big hall, when he first time entered Brookfield big hall to take the class, what were the feelings of Mr. Chips? He was very much fearful, and he told at that time to the students that barbarians, and he was very uncomfortable. And he is now in this question, he is answering, he is encouraging the Linford, who is actually a boy who came just few days ago in the in the school. So indirectly he encouraged the Linford to stay here. Question number 5 is, what different matters did Chips discuss with Linford? Or describe briefly Linford's meeting with Chips. Chips talked of Shropshire, Linford's hometown, of school and school life in general, and of the news in that day's paper. Chips also told him that he was growing up into a very difficult world. So this incident he described, or he shared with Linford about his hometown, school life in general, news of that day's paper, just to console or just to entertain the Linford. Question number 6 is, how did Chips feel after seeing off Linford? Chips could not move because he was too tired. Anyhow, it didn't matter. He leaned back in his chair and slept on the chair in a sitting posture. So this was the situation of Mr. Chips after leaving Linford. He was so much tired and he was absorbed in different memories, thinking of his wife Katherine. And who was Linford? The person who was the boy who was in previous 6 questions is that who was Linford. Linford was a boy of 9. He was 9 years old. He was the last person who came to see Chips before his death. He made Chips remember his wife, Katherine, by saying, "Goodbye, Mr. Chips." Why did Chips become sad after Linford's visit? Chips became sad after Linford's visit because Linford's words, "Goodbye, Mr. Chips," reminded him the day of his marriage and his wife, Katherine. In this way, Linford became an important student in the novel because he said goodbye, Mr. Chips, at the last of the novel before Mr. Chips' death. Question number 9. Why Linford has come to see Mr. Chips? Someone told Linford that Chips wanted to see him. Therefore, he came to see Chips. It was just a joke because Chips didn't call him. Yes, students, actually, visitors often used to come at Mrs. Wicket just to meet Mr. Chips, and this was the practice of different students as well. So this is also one of the students who came here just for a joke, and his joke became memorable in the novel, and story came to an end with this guy. So he also came here just to have a cup of tea or just to conversate with Mr. Chips. Although Mr. Chips knew very well that he is joking or he's someone other's purpose, yet he served him very well. Rather, Mr. Chips encouraged the boy and he entertained as much as possible. Question number 10. Whom did Chips see around him when he awoke after being unconscious? He saw old Buffles, Mr. Cartwright, Dr. Merivale, and Mrs. Wicket. So these are 4 characters around him when he awoke after being unconscious. Read it again, please. He saw old Buffles, Mr. Cartwright, Dr. Merivale, and Mrs. Wicket. These are 4 characters around him, around Mr. Chips, when he awoke after being unconscious. What did Cartwright say about Chips' children? Cartwright said that it was a pity Chips never had any children. What was Chips' response to Cartwright's statement about his being issueless or childless? Chips responded immediately, opened his eyes, and in a feeble voice said that he had thousands of children and they all were boys. Feeble means weak, because he just came out of his senses, came in his senses, and these are the feelings just before his death. Look here and observe keenly, dear students, that a person, a teacher, who spent a lot of years in an institution, and he was utmost sincere with his children and with his students especially, and he is top to toe sincere with the Brookfield, with the boys, with his profession. So before his death, he is saying that he has a lot of children, thousands of children, and they all were the boys. So how he is passionate, how he is sincere towards his boys, towards the students' study, and we can imagine from this question statement, please. How did Chips die? Just before his death, Chip's mind was full of dreams, faces and voices. His own words and the names of his students sang in his ears, and when he died, he seemed so peaceful. This was the situation of Mr. Chips before dying. So still he was remembering about different dreams, faces, voices of the students, and he was all the time remembering about the incident events related to students. Question number 14 is, what were the two things Chips had never done? Very important question is, he had never travelled by air and had never gone to a cinema. These two things Chips didn't do in his life. He didn't travel and he didn't go to cinema. Question number 15. What kind of novel is this? This is a biographical novel. The biography of a school teacher, Mr. Chipping, is described in it. Biographical novel means to say, dear students, biography is a book in which any person's life history is written. If it is written up by himself, it is called autobiography. But here it is biography because it is not written by Mr. Chips, it is written by someone else who is the writer. That's why it is called biography. Question number 16. What did Merivale envy about Mr. Chips? Merivale envied Mr. Chips' freedom and carefree life. He wished he could lead such a life for a day or two. Question number 17. What did Chips see and say when he regained consciousness? What did Chips see and say when he regained consciousness? He found himself in bed. Dr. Merivale was there, stooping over him and smiling. Merivale asked Chips if he was feeling all right. He told him that he had fainted, and Chips was lucky that Mrs. Wickett found him. Merivale asked him to take it easy and sleep again if he wanted to. Question number 18. What different scenes did Chips recall before his death? Chips saw scenes and heard voices, Kathie playing a Mozart trio, sound of guns, Brookfield bells, jokes, you liar. Mr. Max, can you translate that? Any of you? So these are different scenes and different incidents came into the mind of Mr. Chips before his death. Question number 19. Draw a character sketch of Cartwright. Cartwright was the headmaster of Brookfield who succeeded Chatteris. He joined Brookfield in 1919. He had little interaction with Chips. Since Chips resigned after World War I, Cartwright never knew that Mr. Chips was married. Actually, this was the man who said the sentence that, oh, I'm pity that Mr. Chips had no child. Actually, he didn't know Cartwright didn't know that Mr. Chips once married and his wife was passed away long time ago. These are the questions, 19 questions from the chapter 17 and 18. Dear students, we conclude that these two chapters are mostly related to Chips' death death scene and how he passed away from this world. Actually, writer or novelist wants to realize us that how a person, the hero of the novel, Mr. Chips, is touchy with his students, with his profession, with his institution. That at the time of death even, he was still memorizing or remembering those sweet faces of his students and all those scenes which are related to Brookfield. And no doubt this character, Mr. Chips, was one and only that is directly or indirectly influenced all other events and incidents of the novel. Okay, dear students, goodbye. Please memorize these question answers at your home, and this will be your self assessment. Goodbye.